What is up, guys? Welcome back to Coltown. Today we are going over some new witch decks and like new decks for the new balance changes, with Rascals being nerfed, of course. Oh, so just like a quick thought, like this deck could some of these decks are a little bit less original, but there are some that are really original. I was just looking at this, and maybe this deck could be better with Witch because you would get the NATO. This isn't one of the decks I'm going to be including, but you could maybe put in Witch here, and you get a little bit more use out of NATO because it does have Splash, but her Splash is a little bit worse now. It's more about her spawns. Just a thought. So quick, we're going to talk about the balances. And then we'll hop into these decks. I do have 5 decks, and I do have a little bit of replays for you guys of a GC that I was just destroying earlier with the new deck. Alright, so Rascals get a 5% HP nerf on the boy, and then first attack slower on the girls. That's pretty, you have more time to respond to them, so if you kill them quickly with a log, they aren't able to put out as much damage. Mortar also just will be a little bit easier to kill and does a little bit less damage. Witch got a huge buff in spawn speed, and a little bit tankier, or quite a bit tankier. But shoots a little bit slower, and then Fire Spirit's got a buff. Bomber kind of inconsequential. Mega Minion maybe a little bit worse, but mostly inconsequential. Goblins are actually now killed. So used to level 13 and level 9 goblins didn't two-shot goblins. They did it all other ranks just because of rounding inconsistencies. So now goblins die easier to minions. So that's a small buff to normal minions, more than minion horde in my opinion. Yeah, and so that's all. Alright, so let's hop into the decks. So first off, this is just a really solid control deck. It's similar to a lot of the giants that have been around. But the reason, just Witch is really good behind these quick pushes with giants after she like defends, and she can be really annoying to deal with. And in the meantime, more so than Night Witch, I think she can be a real nuisance behind a giant, and a miner can get a lot of chip off in the meantime. So the reason why I think she could potentially be better than Night Witch in this type of deck is because just the faster spawns. Like, it's almost like a guaranteed poison, and if they're having to poison just a giant Night Witch, especially if the Night Witch has already got achieved value, then they usually don't have enough elixir to also stop a miner. She's also much more annoying to like a P.E.K.K.A, for example. So if you defend with her and place a giant in front, they either have to poison or have to P.E.K.K.A. They can't really do both, especially in single elixirs, so that could be really nice. And people have been getting 12 ones with this, so this deck is very good. And I'm looking forward to playing it. I haven't gotten to play it yet. I just saw this one. Oh, some people use Zap instead of Ice Spirit, but I do think that with the nerf to Mortar and Rascals, I think 3 spells in general will be much less necessary. We'll have to wait and see, so maybe Zap could be better than Ice Spirit, but I would like to think that you don't necessarily have to take Ice Spirit. And then of course they have like Inferno Dragon, then you could potentially get some distract value out of Witch, but otherwise you could just not play your giant and then kind of get pressure with all these cards. Oh, also just Lumberjack plus Witch is really nice because of her increased spawn. It makes him such a nuisance. It's so good. Okay, so next up, we're going to be looking at a giant graveyard deck. Double Witch because so much poison bait. I have seen people run it with 4 spells instead of Ice Golem. They have Zap. Once again, I don't think that's necessarily needed. And I don't like having 4 spells in a graveyard deck that's already kind of clunky and expensive, because that just makes it so much more expensive, and so much, you get bad hands with 4 spells in my opinion. So I don't like that much. That's what Giant used to use with graveyard, but I just don't think it's necessary anymore. And I like the addition of Ice Golem because let's say they have something that you need to zap, right? So like bats that can take care of it. If they have Inferno Dragon, then you don't even have to play the giant if you don't want to. Only maybe if they use their Inferno Dragon in cycle, because now you can just use Ice Golems. Also, just in the normal games that don't have these specific circumstances, Ice Golem just thrown in front of a Night Witch or a Witch is really threatening. And a lot of the time it forces them to use their best counter to those cards, and then you can go in with like a graveyard afterwards. So I just think it could be a nice addition. And since your only ground troop that defends if you have Zap is Night Witch, or Witch and Night Witch, which are both kind of clunky defending against, Witch will be better now, but can be clunky defending against like a Ghost, for example. So just having like another like little distract card is nice. So I think this could be really good. I won some games with the other version of this deck, but I thought Ice Golem maybe would be better. So that's my suggestion. We'll get to this afterwards. But this deck is it's like the old clone deck with Night Witch, but now you have 2 witches, super poison bait, super fun to play. And we're going to show off some replays on this one because I have been playing this one, and I'm actually up to a 9-0 in a GC using this in the graveyard deck. And I beat some really good players with this deck. So I think this could be really legit. If you're not playing against like P.E.K.K.A Poison or the deck I just showed, then this deck could be really, really good and viable now. And then here, this is just something, I couldn't think of like a fifth deck. So I think maybe just because this deck sometimes lacks like Distract, that maybe Witch could be better. I think Night Witch is probably still better in this Golem deck. So I said 5 decks, but I couldn't really think of like a fifth one that would be like super effective. Because of course I'm trying to give you guys decks that can win. So yeah, this one's just more of like a thought, same as that other Golem deck, just like a thought, like maybe try it, see how it works. But yeah, so finally we're gonna get to this one. This one isn't a new deck necessarily. This can also be used with, it's mainly used with Inferno Dragon, so I'll include that in the link instead. But Magic Archer is something I've been testing. Magic Archer potentially also really good against Night Witch and Witch, being able to slice through their cheap units they spawn. But that's something I'm going to be testing. But even without Night, it doesn't matter whether you have Magic Archer or doesn't matter if you have Magic Archer or Inferno Dragon. You're going to hard counter the crap out of all these new Witch decks because you have Poison, you have Ice Wiz NATO, you have a Defense, and you have Valkyrie. You have literally every counter to their decks because Valkyrie hard counters Witch, Ice Wizard, Tornado hard counters Witch and Night Witch and tanks, and then this hard counters and this hard counter. So it's like you should easily win with this deck. So this is like my hard counter to the other decks, and just a fun graveyard deck in general. So yeah, talking about this deck, it's actually not impossible to. So I played this other version of Giant and I beat it, and I also played I want to say this guy was okay, but this guy was he finished top 200 last season. So pretty good player. Now that looks like that would not be fun to play against with this Golem deck. that would be a bad matchup. But yeah, so he played 3 Musk, and I shared this on Twitter as well, but I had a really funny matchup. So we'll show this one first. So yeah, just Golem and all these cards are really good. And it's about, as always with Golem, it's about like elixir sacrifices. So this is an unfortunate hand right here. With this hand, you want to pump up at the same time as them, but unfortunately I didn't have pump, so you just have to Golem. So yeah, and then so he goes in with 6 elixir here, so you're gonna want to defend as little as possible and I purposely played Mega Minion instead of like my Lumberjack because my Lumberjack basically dies to the Battle Ram. Mega Minion will be a nuisance and get some damage on the other side, and in the meantime I'm going to start my Witch. So because I knew he's playing 3 Musk, I actually should have played this Witch even further back because he was pretty smart to block the Witch to keep it from killing the minion horde. But if I had played it farther back, he would have either had to try to kill the Golem or the Witch, and he would have been weighted and he would have taken more damage. So I should have spaced those farther apart. Either way, well played by him, obviously a good player. But the clone still just gets me a ton of damage. And then now I'm going to take that damage because I really need to get back even in elixir. And I'm going to emphasize defending his Miner if possible. So I'm actually able to get back to my Night Witch. I do catch his Miner. So that was nice. And then now I'm just going to look to play a Golem now. Even if he pumps up, I want to play Golem. Here I do end up having to play my my Lumberjack. I played Lumberjack instead of Witch because I wanted Witch behind my my Golem. So now I don't have Pump and Cycle, so I'm obviously gonna want to Golem right here. And then I'm gonna wait a little bit. Like I said, so what I was talking about with wait, let me pause this for a second. So what I was talking about with Witch earlier, I was already thinking that in my head, that maybe I should space them out farther, but the reason I didn't, and I actually played it this close, is because I'm going to have so much aircraft now that it doesn't even matter, because I'm going to have Mega Minion, Witch, and Night Witch. So if he plays Minion Horde on top of that, it's just going to be suicide, especially with Clone. I know he doesn't have a big spell, so I'm going to be looking to clone everything. So right here, I'm also playing... Oh yeah, I also wanted to kill the Goblin Gang and force him to hopefully not take the tower, but he does, unfortunately. So that's... that kind of sucks, but oh well. But yeah, so now you just look for that big push. I'm willing to take damage, and I do, and the Ice Golem ends up killing so you want to get everything and then rage it, because the rage pops off from of course you get double spawns, and then you get the Lumberjack rage from the cloned Lumberjack, and then you get the Lumberjack inside the rage, from the cloned Lumberjack, and it's so powerful if they don't have poison or like an appropriate counter. So yeah, great player, and we're able to take him out because that deck is pretty solid against like 3 Musk, even though you don't have a big spell. That's really nice that you can beat it. You have to be careful with your elixir, of course. All right, so next up, we're gonna be playing like a control deck that does have poison, and we're gonna see how you can like circumvent poison. Even though he has giant, mega minion, miner, which is an amazing pump punish, and then he also has poison. We are still able to overcome it by playing smart. So we'll show that. We don't even start with our pump, so not the best hand, unfortunately. We're gonna have to cycle mega minion onto his miner there, and then we get the 10 elixir, so we just have to cycle a night witch in the back. And then he actually played a lot of troops here, so I knew he was going to be late to poisoning. So in the meantime, we're just going to be playing lumberjack. And then I was actually hoping like right here he would poison like late, because then he doesn't have poison for the pump. But he decides to hold it. That was pretty aggressive by him, but we have a good defense there. And then now I'm going to look the pump. I'm going to have to Mega Minion that lumberjack, and then I recognize that his miner is on the left side of the pump here, so I'm actually able to log it into the left side tower off my pump. I'm like, don't touch my baby. She's generating my lead, bro. Yeah, so we're actually able to log the miner onto the left side tower. I recognize that he was on the far left side, so that was possible. So yeah, I go ahead and take that. And then right here, I purposely play the golem in the strong side lane because I'm just going to let him take my right side tower, basically. Because I know that he has poison, and I think I can 3-crown him with this lead that I've just gotten. So yeah, I'm okay with him pressuring the opposite side. I'm going to defend it as little as possible. That's why I play witch on this side. I then was scared I was going to get 3 crowns, so I went ahead and played my night witch as well. But this is really important. I did it on purpose because 1, I don't want to get 3 crown, and 2, it makes him poison because it's poison value, right? But I still have clone, so I don't even necessarily need the witches to punish poison. So I've already got my mega minion behind my golem, and now I successfully defend the 3 crown, and then I'm just gonna clone this, and then yeah, so I've got a huge push. I say good luck because I'm a bad person. And I get a second wave of witches down, and then my mega minion and my lumberjacks are all raged, and I'm able to go through, and I almost 3 crown. That was a pretty good defense by him. Almost get through. That was a little bit of an overcommit on that last clone. But otherwise, I know he doesn't have a defense now, so all I need to do is defend once and get a golem down. So I'm not going to just throw a golem down. I want to make sure he doesn't have his punish in hand first. So we're able to space out our units here to avoid the poison. And then basically you just play the golem, and then we're able to take the 3 crown versus a deck that should be very difficult to defeat. So yeah, that was fun, and that put me at 9-0. We'll probably make a video on this deck, but yeah. And we'll go ahead and show one match with the graveyard deck before I put in Ice Golem. Yeah, so we played the meta bridge fam deck. It's they either use this deck or with Magic Archer, or they use Zappies. So yeah, this deck is actually really, I see why you want Zap, because this deck is really weak to Inferno Dragon. And as you can see, this is like one of the weaknesses of Witch, is just her ranged attack when you need it is really bad. So it's nice that she takes out Ice Golem here, but then like, of course she didn't really do any damage. She did kind of overcommit there, but it didn't really do any damage to the Inferno Dragon, and I have to defend that. He went really aggressive, but I mean, bridge spam, that's what it does, so he's able to get a slight lead. Once again, I'm going to play Witch here, and this time if he had played Magic Archer, I was going to poison, but then he goes in with a Battle Ram opposite lane. Because his Inferno Dragon was out of hand in the other lane, I decided to go ahead and play Giant to tank the barbs and to give me a little counter push here. So I think that was a really nice Giant by me. And then I'm going to look to distract here. But I purposely, I pull things to the opposite side and take a little bit of damage on the left side because I want that Witch in my right lane side instead of, I could have denied more damage, but then I wouldn't have had the counter push I had. But maybe that was a bad idea because I didn't get as much damage as I thought I could. I did bait out a spell though. And because of my awkward hand here, because I don't have Ice Golem, I have to graveyard nothing. So that was kind of annoying, but you gotta do what you can with what you have. I could have also cycled the spell, but he didn't. I think it was okay. All right, so we're gonna go once again. We're gonna have to go with that push there. Gonna have to go with log, and here's where the deck can kind of shine. I've got a little mini push going on here to the left, but just because I have a counter pushing Witch, I can go ahead and graveyard. And it's a lot of pressure coming from this Witch. And as a result, I'm able to get a ton of damage, and that was enough because she spawns so many skeletons now that she either is going to do a lot of damage with them, or she's going to make them poison, or she's just going to... She requires a lot of responses that Night Witch doesn't necessarily require. Like, you can't counter her with minions, for example. You can't count... Like, you can counter a Night Witch kind of with like a pull from almost any unit. But Night Witch, like, the skeletons kill things quickly. So it's really hard to distract her, and she's a bigger nuisance, like, on these kind of like split pushes like that, I think. So she did a really good job there. And as a result, we were able to take that dub. Alright, thank you guys for... What did I play this game? Oh yeah, I also played a troll deck, and he had a hard counter. Like, this deck was obviously not good, but I just thought it would be funny. I'll just, like, fast forward through this. He had, like, the best possible matchup. I had Pump, he had Rocket, but he kept on just minor poisoning nothing. It was a really weird match. Yeah, like, Valkyrie destroyed that push. Yeah, so like that. And then he just rockets it. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And he ends up having Tornado too, but he just misplayed that. And then, yeah, that was all I needed to win. Alright, so thank you guys for watching. I have a new video coming out soon, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.